Okay, welcome again for the second week of the Native Edible webinar in collaboration with Missouri Department of Conservation and Lincoln University Cooperative Extension. I am Tina Wurth, and we have Ginger Miller here also helping us with she's from the conservation, and so we will get started. I'm going to introduce Nadia so she can start her presentation on time. I just want to say that Nadia has been at Lincoln University for many, many years, since 2006, I believe.
And 8.
Is it 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, since 2008. She's a state extension specialist at LU and professor, and she leads the specialty crop and native plant program at Lincoln University Cooperative Extension. She offers many educational workshops about native edible plants. Nadia will discuss how to identify, grow, and harvest native perennials, perennial greens in this next second webinar. Nadia has done a lot of work in rural and urban and suburban areas throughout the state of Missouri. She's very well known. I get into a little trouble sometimes because I tell people that she is the only or the first native plant specialty crops person in the state. And they say, oh, I know somebody. And I said, no, I think Nadia was the first. So I hope you enjoy her presentation and learn a lot from it. And we'll have a Q&A at the end. So feel free to jot down any questions you might have throughout her presentation, and we'll try to answer it in the last 10 minutes of the webinar. Thanks for attending.
Thank you, Tina. And thank you all of you for being with us. I know this is a wonderful evening. I wish I was in the garden right now. But we're gonna do it at the symposium. We're gonna have all kinds of demonstrations for you. So thanks again for being with us. And as Tina says, I have been at Lincoln University since 2008. And I just, as a reminder, the Lincoln University is a historically Black college university. We are very diverse. And then you see that in the staff that we have with the program. First of all, I just want to briefly mention what the purpose of our program is. We just use native plants to promote them as specialty crops. So we try not to encourage foraging unless they are the plants are very common and they can grow on their own. They can be aggressive, that is okay. But we try for people to grow on their own. And sometimes we don't know about pollutants in the air. So if you grow your own in your backyard, you are safe. So, and we also, not also, but it's part of this program to promote the importance of native plants for conservation. And I just love showing some of these photos here. And these are all being taken either in my place or at Lincoln University or in volunteers' places. This is the team. You can see how diverse we are. I'm originally from El Salvador, and we have a student from Ghana, from Jamaica, and from Colombia. And the community is from that surrounds Lincoln University, and we have Tina in Kansas City. So it's a great team. And on the left corner, I'm sorry, on the right down corner is my husband, and I include him as part of the team because he takes really good photos, and you see, especially the close-ups that I'm gonna show. So we have a couple of facilities that we maintain on campus. It's why the team is so large. We keep busy. We have the Native Plant Outdoor Laboratory right in front of our office in Jefferson City. It is a garden of excellence by Grow Native, who is also a collaborator in this Native Edible Plants Academy. We also have another facility on campus. We are in Jefferson City, and this is the Finca Eco Farm. And Finca was like a borrowed name from a word in Spanish. Finca means farm, and it's a project that we started in 2014. We keep more than 100 species of native plants here, and you can see them growing mature, and you can take some example for your own garden or farm. During this workshop, this webinar, I'm gonna talk about first about 5 native perennial greens that we have grown. These are very, except for white leeks, they're very easy to grow. And we have been encouraging people to grow them as crops. And this was thanks to 3 specialty crops grants that we got from the Missouri Department of Agriculture to promote these native plants as specialty crops. So we hope that someday we'll see them in farmers markets like a normal thing. Right now, we're trying to do it in our own farmers market on campus. I'll start with Soshan, continue with Copland, then white leeks, and nettles, wood nettles and stinging nettles. Let's get started with Soshan, one of my favorite greens. I have learned to like it more and more. At the beginning, I liked the idea. It's an edible plant, it is native, and I just love it because it's not only good for us, but also for pollinators. And this was actually the first, it's a photo that we took. Actually, Randy took it. The first time I found the Soshan growing in such abundance, it was just amazing to me. This was taken in Bottomlands in Rocheport, Missouri. And Soshan is actually in the sunflower family. It's related to our black-eyed Susan, but as you see, it's Rudbeckia laciniata is the species name. It's taller, it's different, very different than other black-eyed Susans. And it has cultural and historical importance for indigenous people, especially the Cherokee. And other common names include cutleaf sunflower, cow's parsley, bottomland greens, depending where they grow and what they are used for. And golden glow is a cultivar that we don't recommend to grow it for food or as a plant for pollinators because might not be the best. It's better to grow local natives. Soshan has a wide range of adaptation. You can grow it in the sun or under moderate shade. But if you want to grow it as a source of food, it's better to grow it in the shade. So that's a great advantage for people that don't have sun in their backyards. So it's good for woodlands. We have grown it, as you can see on the right, in raised beds, and it's doing really good. This photo was taken a couple of days ago, and we just had harvested, I forgot how it was, but it was like 10 pounds at least. And that was, and we didn't want to cut everything at once. And we are using it for demonstrations and to sell it at the market. It prefers, which means that it grows better in rich soils and also moist soils. And it can be found in riparian corridors. And you can see on the left is how the plant looks when they start growing very early in the spring, like mid-March. Here we have it growing also in our teaching greenhouse that is located at the Finca Eco Farm. Here is to the Monet, showing how to harvest. Let's see if you can see. You see, she's just pulling the pedicel, the leaf with the pedicel. Try not to cut or pull the whole plant because it comes the whole plant together. So that is just a way to do it. And you can see what the next slide, that is just the leaves that she harvested, and we can sell them. Actually, this was, it happened. We sold the greens for $7 a pound at the market, but we hope that someday a farmer would do it. They can be sold not only as fresh for consumption, like any other green, but also you can sell the potted plants. And we have done it too. Social forms colonies. And this is just an example. This is a prairie fort conservation area. They had established it next to the office, and you could see that it was just spreading nicely. You don't have to worry about mowing in this case. And then, but if you're worried about spreading too much, don't grow it in a garden. They need space. And on the picture on the right is this is at the Second Baptist Church in also in Jeff City. And we established some of the plants. Unfortunately, you cannot see, but you can guess. In the dark area is all Soshan. And this was late in the fall when we took this picture. As you can see, the plant had already bloomed, and it was already producing the seed. And so you could harvest it at this time too, in the spring and in the fall. They can be tall, but they can be pruned to reduce their growth. So once they start blooming, the weather is in the summer, and they just look amazing. Especially they are growing in shaded areas because it might be like a hard, I mean, it's very heavy canopy of trees, and these flowers are blooming underneath. So that's also the name Golden Glow, because it seems to me that they are glowing. And they can be tall, but again, you can, by harvesting, you can reduce their size. How to prepare? You can just use them like any other green. You can blanch them up to 5 minutes, sometimes less, depending on how the leaves are, because the very first leaves are very soft and tasty. You just eat them just like that. You don't need to cook them. But when they start developing, they get a little harder, and the flavor might be a little stronger. But they can be, once you get to know them and you start cooking with them, I'm sure that you would like to use them often in your cookings. We do dehydrate them too. So we have done recipes, as you can see on the left. We have here Patsy Johnson, one community member here in Jeff City, and a volunteer. She prepared a Soshan casserole for the Second Baptist Church goers, so they could see that the plan that we had established was edible, and now the preacher is using it more often and is encouraging others to eat it. And here's a soup that we serve at one of our dining whiles. It's an event that we have not every year, but often enough to show off some recipes with native edibles. And here is just a salad, fresh leaves, not uncooked, and then you add your favorite dressing, tasty. And based on this is a source that I found that is not about the nutritional value. This is the University of Carolina, where they are doing studies about the nutrient content. Like we have they mentioned that it has vitamin A and C, folic acid, manganese, zinc, phosphorus and copper, and other minerals. And here I don't have a photo to show what we are doing here at Lincoln. We are working with a researcher, Dr. Kimbo Yang, and his team, and we're evaluating some of the nutritional value. We want to compare different things, like what the difference of plants growing early in the year, or the material growing early in the year and later in the year. And we're going to compare also raw leaves versus cooked leaves. And this is all about Soshan. Remember the name, it's a Cherokee name. The next one is cat plant, very common. I expect that many of you might know this plant. And I just want to show you our giant that is growing at the finca. As you can see, it's just a huge plant. It's just one plant. So it just gives you the idea. These plants grow this much. They're good as crops because they can compete really well with other plants. But the difference with this plant is that Soshan, you can harvest the leaves early in the year. And if you harvest it, you can maybe do up to 4 harvests. And in the fall. With cat plant, it's different because the leaves are a little harsher and they only taste great when they are just starting to grow. And I'm going to show you that. And for those of you who don't know, this is the look, is how to identify this plant. I mean, the name suggests cup plant because the leaves are, they're joined into the stem of the plant. They form what the cup. And I'll show you a picture of a cute frog that we have in our yard. And the flower is important for pollinators. And other names is carpenter square. So this is one of the exceptions that not all mints are square. This plant has square stems. So it distinguishes from other members in the sunflower family. And I say here 4 feet, maybe up to, because in the books you see 4 to 8 and I think that this is taller than 8 feet. So it depends where the plant grows. It might be much taller. This is just showing you the germinating seedling, similar to sunflower. And this is how they look at the very beginning in early spring. Once the temperatures start warming up, they start growing. Excuse me. And this is a little later. It only takes maybe a month for the leaves to be available. If they grow more than this, and they might start developing the flowering stalk, it's not good to eat anymore. And then you just harvest the more tender leaves. This is happening now. It's a photo that I took just recently. And this is my backyard. This is how Soshan and the cup plant work together. Of course, you have to be very lenient. This is a very wild yard. But we have greens for a while. And what I do, I preserve them, I blanch them and freeze them or dehydrate them. And we'll learn more about what ginger does with all these greens in the next webinar. But I left this because, as you see, I'm very, very interested in protecting pollinators. And I understand the importance of leaving stems standing. Even now, it looked like it was time to clean all the gardens, but we didn't. And we saw, these are the stems from the Soshan and some of the Kaplan, but we saw a woodpecker feeding on grubs. I don't know what's growing in the stems, but they were feeding on the stems of Ocean in very, very early spring, almost at the end of the winter. So I think that's important to leave those stems standing as long as you can. It is in the backyard, so nobody will bother us in our neighborhood. So again, just harvest in the spring only. And here is our wonderful giant that this is in our home. So you can imagine they can be pretty aggressive. So be aware of that, and they reseed themselves well by the birds because they feed on the seed in the fall. But this one really responds to pruning. So you can get half the size, so even smaller, shorter plants, and still they bloom in the summer. And here's one of our little residents in the backyard, and that I was lucky enough to get the picture sitting on the cup plant. And this is the flowers in late summer, right on time for a monarch to come and feed on it. So they are really important plants for pollinating insects too. Now we're gonna switch to some different plant, completely different than the first two. The first two are in the sunflower family. This one is in the onion family. And I'm just gonna mention this one because we don't have the time, but this is an important allium. The scientific name is Allium trichocum. They can be, they're known as wild leeks or ramps. And believe it or not, some people think that we don't have them here in Missouri. But if you check the flora of Missouri, they are scattered in the state. And we think that maybe some botanists haven't gone to other places to find them, because I found this growing in Colombia. And that was another find that for me. I thought they were invasive plants because they would start early in the spring, but they were white leaves. And the stand is still looking good. The unfortunate thing about white leaves is that people are greedy sometimes, and they dig plants from places like this. This is in a natural area in Colombia. And if it's plenty, why not? But I would say to ask first or grow them yourselves, because these are too precious to be destroyed in the wild. The leaves showing mid-March and April right now is how they're looking. As you can see, the date. It's just around this time, and they're ephemeral, like many other spring wildflowers. The leaves disappear. The difference is that the flower shows later in the year, in the summer. And so what happened with the white leaves is that they stay green for up to 6 weeks, and then they get wilted and they are gone, is what you think. But then the flower comes later. And this is just an example of a natural area. This is also in Colombia. And they can grow in woodlands, deciduous forests. And I know there are a couple of farmers here in Colombia that they're lucky enough to have an established population of leeks. So they are thinning their woodlands because they're really packed. So they do need thinning sometimes, but one way to also to maintain, if you don't have huge areas like this, you can grow yours in your backyard and just harvest the leaves. They do need rich soil and moist soils and good drainage. You can find them along creeks, but not in creeks or too close to creeks. This is how they look very early in the spring. They are before any other spring was flower. They are the first ones to show. And then later in the year, the flowers show. Once the leaves are gone, it's only the flower that is present. And let me show you here, sweat bee that is pollinating these flowers. This is actually in our backyard in Colombia, and I was so excited to be able to get this video because they are very abundant. The sweat bees really like these flowers. And because thanks to them, we produce a lot of seed, as you can see in this photo. And for that's one, this forest, as you can see in the photo, they are alliums, but they are different. As you can see, their leaves are much broader than other onions. And another thing is that the seed is completely round. They're just like little marbles. They're just so gorgeous that sometimes I just want to look at them. But it's really interesting because the seed, to propagate it from seed, you actually need 3 periods, so 2 warm periods and 1 cold period of stratification. That means that the seed matures in the fall, 1 year. It goes through the winter, warm, cold, and then again goes to another warm period next year, and then germinates 18 months after you plant them. So it's just sometimes you might be able to do it and maybe to mimic it in growth chamber, but we have tried that and we haven't been very successful. It's just an amazing sight. You forget about these little things. If you don't put enough signage, you forget that you had them. But and then suddenly they're showing up in the spring. So again, they have to go through springs in order to germinate. And they can be propagated also from bulbs by bulb division. They're also available in the commercial trade it's sold by native plant nurseries. And you can check the Grow Native resource guide for nurseries near you. So we have, I just want to show you here, at the very beginning, we didn't have seed, we didn't have plants when I got the grant. So we had to buy some plants from Virginia because we just didn't have it. It was part of the research. And they send us the plants like this. And so you can buy them bare root, like trees. So they send them like that. This is when they started germinating. But if you have the plants already, you can separate your own plants. They're very easy to separate. They're completely separated. It's very easy to get more plants from one single plant that you had. And this is just an example of what we did at the beginning. We plant them in raised beds, and they do need good nutritious soil. And this soil we bought it from the St. Louis Compost Company, and they did really well. But the trees that we had here are sycamores and oaks, and that helps also to maintain them. And this is just I just want to show you my backyard and the leeks growing in our yard. This is just one little raised bed that we have, and as you can see, growing with violets, and I'm sure that you can grow other things and it would be okay. And I think I have a photo I don't. But this is just to show you that it's okay to add violets with your leeks. You can add spring beauties and even sweet williams in like a natural areas. And again, we just harvest the leaves. They're pretty, and they're pretty um, fragrant. It's just hard to miss them because of the smell or the aroma, as you want to call it, it is really potent. But it is great for cooking. And this is just an example what we're doing here at Lincoln. We're creating recipe cards. And this is just one that I have with the white leeks, just to make oat crackers. And we will share more during our fourth webinar. The next plant that I want to talk about is wood nettle. And like Tina, last seminar, she was talking about twins, the twin henbit and the dead nettle, because they look alike, very similar. Same with the nettle. We have twin nettles. The wood nettle is the one that is considered native in Missouri. It is a shade-tolerant species like many other like other nettles, and they grow well with white leeks. And here's what you see. This is actually a natural site in Colombia with wood nettle growing with white leeks and also with impatiens and with sweet williams. And you can mimic that in your own yard. This is the natural habitat in the fall, but when they're like this, you don't harvest them. These plants need to be harvested early in the year. And I show you the other nettle, how it must look. It's not too, when they're growing too tall, it's better to leave them alone or prune them, and maybe you get new growth. And so this is the second nettle, stinging nettle. The difference with the La Portilla canadensis or wood nettle is that the leaves are opposite. Wood nettle are alternate, and the other leaves, the leaves of wood nettle are rounded and more broad, and stinging nettle are long and narrow. And this is how they look early in the year. And another example that we leave also the stems for the pollinators in the spring. And this is really important to know that even amazingly, these plants don't imagine that they can be food for beautiful butterflies. And these two plants, nettles, wood nettle and stinging nettle, are host plants for butterflies like the question mark and the satyr comma here in the photo. And this is how the stinging nettle looks like when after rain, and it's the perfect time to harvest. When after they grow a little longer, they might get a little harsh and woody. So this is the perfect timing, and similar with the wood nettle. And this is just a way, we always try to grow them in raised beds or in contained, so we can show people how they perform in small areas. And this one, you can tell that it was just getting out of the raised bed, and actually we had to dig it completely because it would have been in the whole community garden. But that is a good characteristic for the nettles. And they grow in bottomlands. As if you have been in some and you have been stung by them, in bottomlands, they can form entire areas. Excuse me. They're very prolific. They're pretty aggressive. Just give you an example that these plants are, especially stinging nettle is very popular, and either for the nutritional value, some believe in some important medicinal characteristics. And you see 3 pounds were being sold for $65. So I think that somebody can make money in our areas. And the farmers market is open if you would like to try. They're a source of vitamin A and C, and it has protein and minerals. And another source is mentioned the presence of iron and potassium. And this we would like to compare with Soshan to see what the difference is of the nutritional value of fresh versus cook. And like other greens, you can prepare them by blanching them and saving either in the refrigerator frozen, or they can be made into pestos and other preserved foods. And with that, I'm just I have that's all we have about the greens that we can use. But we have other plants that you can use the flowers and the leaves. And these are common among many of us. First is bergamot, hairy mountain mint, dittany, and slender mountain mint. Bergamot is a very common plant. There are many or several species of bee balms here in the state, but this is the only one that we promote as to eat it, because it's so common and it's so easy to grow, either from seed or from cuttings, and it's pressed easily. And it's, of course, it's great for pollinators. And you can see this is just a picture in the outdoor lab, and just to show you how they look later in the summer and how they look in the winter. They look pretty. So these are as common as probably one of the more common native plants. But just eat Monarda festulosa, not the others. Monarda festulosa. Hairy mountain mint is a very aromatic plant, and we have 2 different kinds of mountain mint. This one is very, has a lot, the difference is that this one has very soft leaves, a little hairy, as the name suggests, but it's also a wonderful plant for pollinators. And a slender mountain mint is as well good for pollinators, but you see the difference with the leaves. As the name suggests, it's just a much narrow leaf, and this one doesn't have as much strength of a mint flavor and smell as hairy mountain mint. And for mint preparation, we usually use the hairy mountain mint for events, and we plan to have some of these demonstrations at our symposium in May. The last of the mints is dittany. Of course, there are several others, but we don't have time to cover everything. I thought these 4, I think they can still grow as crops. You can use them. I mean, they're pretty productive, and they're easy either to grow from seed or from plant division. Dittany is a little more slender, but it's full of flavor. Like bergamot or bee balm, they can be used for sweet, but maybe more for savory dishes. because they have more like the name suggests, the scientific name is more like an oregano. I mean, we can use it to replace for oregano, but it's also a wonderful plant for very tiny, tiny bees that visit the flowers. It's a very short growing, but it's perennial. You can find it in savannas growing under the trees, and they're very, very tough plants. And I found one area in our yard where they do really well. The one trick is that they need to be planted in areas where the soil is very well drained. And here is there's a couple photos of the Ditani in the winter, and they just have a beautiful, beautiful look. They're just so delicate. And you can see that is, and actually one characteristic of this plant is that they form frost flowers, and it's very few species like Verbena that also form frost flowers in the winter. So you can imagine how tiny these frost flowers are. And now we have, I thought that, let's see, we have some miscellaneous plants. I mean, it's impossible, again, to cover everything that we could recommend to eat. And especially when you look at the books, I mean, they're more and more, every time I learn more and more. So we have here in this presentation, common violet, woodland spiderwort, and ostrich fiddlehead ferns. Violets are probably well known by many of you that they're edible, the leaves are edible, and the flowers are edible. Some authors do not recommend to eat too many of the leaves because they might be cathartic. They might be so it's just good not to eat too much, but you can add them in salads. The flowers would add beautiful color to your salads. And these are two species that we grow in here at Lincoln, and also I have it in my yard. And one is blue violet, the most common, and the white violet or Viola striata. They are really good to grow in containers. Some people that we work with might not have areas to grow a whole garden. These are great plants to grow in pots. And another important thing about these plants, besides being edible for people, they're host plants for fritillary butterflies. So sometimes people complain, and I have here people, that there's too many violets in the yard, and I say you should be happy because for me violets are better than any grass that doesn't give any source of food for any animal. And here's our example. It is our front yard in Colombia. This is a few years ago. So now we having diversified the front yard, and we have other spring wildflowers, but they stay blooming for a long time, and you see a lot of insects visiting the flowers. And violets form a fruit later in the growing season, and it's a capsule. And you might have seen it. If you have, or if not, try to see that. It's kind of very sweet to see that. The capsules are full of seed, and you can see that, like this one in the photo, can spread. I mean, can help spread the violets pretty well. And you find it in pots. If you're reusing your soil, you might find violets growing in all your pots. But they're delicate, and I like them. And the next plant is woodland spiderwort. Based on some, well, I was checking on books, like Kelly Kitchener from Kansas City State University mentions about that spiderworts, all spiderworts are edible. But I found that the one that grows here in our area better and is more tender is woodland spiderwort. And it could be, it can be, see, there's two colors that you see in the photo, but also white color. And you can use it in salads, you can use it raw, and either the flowers or the leaves, you can add them in your salads. Like here, I don't have red bass in the presentation, but it's what you do when you have flowers and you find out that they are edible. Why not? And see, here is combining what you heard last week from Tina. If you see that we have some chickweed, violet, spiderwort, and henbit, red bath, and then you add dressing, or just simply lemon with olive oil and salt. For me, that is the best salad dressing, and it's tasty. And the last of my plants is oyster fern. We got a grant to study ferns, especially for the production of fetal heads. But we haven't been able to grow them too well. For now, we are selling them as ornamental plants. And this is the way they grow here. We have seen them growing differently in other locations. And we have bought some fiddlehead from places like the Northwest. And I show you some photos, but this is just another way to enjoy your ferns. So you see your little frogs hanging in there. And this is this is how they should look if you want to grow them as a specialty crop, but we're still working on it. In our area, might not be suitable. There are other ferns that can be produced for food, like lady ferns. So we'll keep trying and grow more. But you see the price, they're really expensive. So I think that somebody can make money if they manage to grow them well here. And my last couple slides is just to show you one recipe that you can make using your white leeks, golden glow leaves, and you can add cup plant and flowers. And this is my kind of pesto because everything is native to our area, and we gather the seed from our yard, except for the pecans. This is how, and I put this picture just to show you also. I'd like to mention that bluebells are edible, but I know that some people might not think that it's a good idea because they're so pretty. But if you have plenty of them, they're pretty tasty. There is almost like, for me, it's better than lettuce, the leaves. I don't eat the flowers. So with that, I just want to share some of that we have some recipes in the Grow Native website, but we'll talk more about it in the last webinar of the season. And this is my evaluation. I would appreciate if you evaluate my presentation today, and I will put it at the end in the chat. Maybe Ginger can do me the favor to do that. And these are some references that will be available for all of you. We're gonna be recording we are recording this presentation, and we're gonna make it available for you within a week. And just some samples I want to mention also, because sometimes people ask me what books are better. And the truth is there's nothing is better. It's just the collection of all the books is good. I just want to point out two from Missouri, Wild Edibles of Missouri and Foraging the Ozarks. But they are all good. They all have good information. And with that, I'm going to finish my presentation and appreciate your participation. Thank you.